Speaker, I understand the support of the chairperson of the Select Committee in relation to this bill, and of course we support that. There are a whole lot of presenters who came in, but this certainly has a long history for Māoridom. Hazard a guess, over many, many years, the addiction of cigarettes with young Māori, with Māori families overall, and I can recall in the 60s and my parents and everybody else, it was more common to be smoking than not smoking. And there are international developments and writings and scribings in relation to those in the lower income brackets and those people who are on the fringe of society who participate in smoking. I've seen my own whānau relations who have passed on only because of cigarette smoking. One of the things I never did, I did a whole lot of other things, but I've never smoked all my life. But my wife, who sadly I lost 16 years ago to lung cancer, and to other members of the family, I certainly have seen the results of smoking up front. And I am a strong advocate in the sense of trying to stop it. The advertising campaigns that has continued for years is something that certainly needs to be broached. And the presentation, the presenters certainly told us that, showed us that. But I can recall people like my wife who started smoking at 13, 14, and it was quite common amongst young Māoris. And it continued for a long, long time. And so in the 50s and 60s, when we had every Māori who was 16 was working, they also started smoking because it was the new kick. It was freedom. It epitomised of being once in control of something, generally having been the manual labourers of the country and town and wherever they lived. Smoking became a huge addiction. It was coupled with boozing in the big bars. It was coupled with a whole lot of other issues. And certainly it's time for the country to grow up. I recall when we were in government and we started pushing the smoking in restaurants and cafes, if you recall that, Minister. There was a whole lot of heaving and really getting emotional about, you were intruding on people's rights and that. Well, I challenge anybody to try and go into a cafe or restaurant now and light up a cigarette. And that wasn't too long ago. So we did that as a nation, and we can do a whole lot of the things in this bill now. People would decry it and say it wouldn't work. But certainly I'm starting to see a lot of young Māori smoking again. And so if they're not busy, they do that. But the price of cigarettes, the cost and the impact on family budgets, especially working class people, is not on. And I certainly am encouraged that we have got to this stage. The colleagues on my colleagues on the Select Committee have done a great job. And so, Mr. Chair, it is something that we need to come to grips with. But I do need to remind us that when we removed smoking from restaurants and cafes, there was a hang of a lot of shouting and chanting that it wasn't on. And there seems to be that now when we're talking about broaching the companies and getting them better, or the advertising. We can't stop it. I'm sure that we can stop it. And that's not nanny state. That's about common sense. We arrested drinking and driving in most places where it was quite a common habit. And Mr. Chair, I want to commend this bill.
Should have said after the Honourable